The red velvet box sat on the kitchen island, looking innocent under the harsh overhead lights. I expected a watch or maybe a necklace to make up for the late nights at the office. Instead, I found a single heavy brass key and a printed address. "Don't go tonight," he whispered, pressing a kiss to my temple. His breath smelled like expensive scotch and a lie I couldn't quite name yet. I waited until the garage door clicked shut and his taillights faded into the rain. Then I grabbed my coat. I didn't know that by morning my entire life would be a crime scene. David and I were the couple people used as a benchmark for stability. 10 years of marriage, a house with a wraparound porch, and a shared calendar that never had a blank space. He was a man of routines. He liked his coffee black, his shirts pressed, and his secrets buried deep. I never had a reason to look under the surface. We spent our Sundays gardening and our evenings talking about retirement funds. It was comfortable. It was safe. But safe can become a cage if you stay in it long enough. I started noticing the small things about 6 months before my 30th birthday. The way he'd take calls in the walk-in closet. The way he started locking his phone, something he'd never done in a decade. "Are you okay?" I asked him one night as he stared at a blank TV screen. "Just work, Sarah. It's always work." He reached over and squeezed my hand, but his palm was damp. He looked tired in a way that sleep couldn't fix. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. Our life depended on the idea that David was exactly who he said he was. Every time I felt a prickle of doubt, I brushed it off. I told myself I was being paranoid. Then came the birthday dinner. He was unusually giddy, his eyes bright with a frantic kind of energy. He kept checking his watch, waiting for the dessert to be cleared. "I have something for you," he said, his voice dropping to a low, intimate hum. "Something that changes everything." He handed me the velvet box. At the time, I thought he was giving me a dream. I didn't realize he was handing me the end of us. The drive to the address took me 30 minutes, deep into a part of the city where the streetlights were broken and the air tasted like salt. The key felt heavy in my pocket, a cold weight against my thigh. The building was an old brownstone, tucked between a shuttered bakery and a laundromat. It looked abandoned, the windows dark and thick with dust. I stood on the sidewalk for a long time, the rain soaking through my thin sweater. My heart was a frantic bird trapped in my ribs. I should turn around, I thought. I should go home. But the curiosity was a physical itch. I climbed the steps and slid the key into the lock. It turned with a smooth, oiled click that made my stomach drop. The door opened into a narrow hallway. It smelled like old paper and expensive perfume, a scent I didn't recognize. I found the light switch and flipped it. The room was filled with filing cabinets, hundreds of them. They were organized by year, stretching back decades. On the desk in the center of the room sat a single folder with my name on it. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were photos, not of me, but of women who looked remarkably like me. Same hair color, same height, same small scar on the chin from a childhood fall. I flipped through the pages, my breath coming in jagged gasps. Each woman had a date listed under her picture, a start date and an end date. The end date for the woman before me was the day David and I met at that coffee shop in Seattle. I felt a wave of nausea hit me. This wasn't a gift. It was a catalog. I heard a floorboard creak behind me. "You weren't supposed to come until tomorrow," a voice said. I spun around. It wasn't David. It was a man I'd seen at our wedding, one of David's old college friends. He was holding a camera, his face completely void of emotion. "David wanted you to see how much work went into finding you," he said. "He's very proud of his selection process." I backed away, my heels clicking sharply against the hardwood. My mind was racing, trying to find a logic that didn't end in horror. "What selection process?" I whispered. The man stepped into the light. He looked at the folder in my hand like it was a work of art. "David has specific tastes, Sarah. He doesn't just fall in love. He curates." I pushed past him and bolted for the door. I didn't stop running until I was locked inside my car, the doors chirping as I hit the fob. I drove aimlessly for hours. My phone kept buzzing in the cup holder. David, David, David. I finally pulled into a gas station parking lot and answered. Sarah, where are you? He sounded concerned. He sounded like the man who tucked me in every night. I'm at the brownstone, David. The silence on the other end was absolute. It lasted so long I thought the call had dropped. You weren't supposed to go alone, he said finally. His voice had lost its warmth. It was clinical. What is that place? Who are those women? He sighed, the sound of a father explaining a difficult concept to a child. They were drafts, Sarah. Necessary steps to get to the version of you that I needed. I felt like the floor of the car had dropped out. I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. Was our whole marriage a script? Was every random encounter actually a choreographed move? I thought about the time we bumped into each other at the library, the time he accidentally ordered my favorite wine on our first date. It was all a lie. I wasn't his soulmate. I was his project. I went back home. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to see him. He was waiting in the kitchen, 2 glasses of wine poured. He looked perfectly calm. I spent millions finding the right match, he said, gesturing to the seat across from him. The gift wasn't the key, Sarah. The gift was the truth. He reached across the table and tried to take my hand. I pulled away as if his skin were red-hot iron. You're sick, I choked out. No, he said softly. I'm devoted. Most men settle for whoever crosses their path. I made sure I found the perfect one. I realized then that the folders weren't just photos. They were blueprints, diets, speech patterns, wardrobe choices. He had been molding me for 10 years, and I hadn't even felt the pressure of his hands. I looked at the man I had loved for a decade and saw a stranger wearing my husband's skin. I'm leaving, I said. My voice was surprisingly steady. He didn't get angry. He just smiled, a small, sad movement of his lips. Where would you go, Sarah? You don't have a family. You don't have a career. I made sure of that, remember? The realization hit me like a physical blow. Every friend I'd lost, every job offer that had fallen through. He had been the one cutting the strings. He hadn't just found the perfect woman. He had cleared the stage, so I had nowhere else to look but at him. I took a step toward the door, but he blocked my path. I did this for us, he whispered, so we could be happy. I didn't think. I swung the heavy glass vase from the counter. It shattered against his temple, the sound like a gunshot in the quiet kitchen. He slumped to the floor, his eyes wide with shock. I didn't check to see if he was breathing. I ran to his office and grabbed the spare set of keys to the safe. Inside wasn't money, it was a passport, with my face. But a different name. He wasn't just curating a wife. He was building a replacement for someone who had gone missing years ago. I looked at the name on the passport, Elena. The gift was finally clear. He wasn't giving me his heart. He was giving me a dead woman's life. The police arrived an hour later. I was sitting on the front porch, the passport clutched in my hand, watching the rain wash the blood off the kitchen floor. They treated me like a victim at first, a frightened wife who had acted in self-defense. But as they searched the house, the narrative shifted. They found the surveillance feeds, cameras hidden in the smoke detectors, the picture frames, the bathroom mirror. He hadn't just been watching me. He had been analyzing me. Is this you? A detective asked, holding up a photo from the brownstone. I looked at the image. It was a woman who looked exactly like me, standing in a park in a city I'd never visited. No, I said. I don't know who that is. The detective looked at me with pity. That's Elena, he said. David's first wife. She's been missing for 15 years. The room began to spin. Every memory of the last 10 years felt like it was dissolving. The way he looked at me, the way he held me. He wasn't seeing Sarah. He was seeing a ghost he'd spent a fortune to resurrect. David survived the hit, but he vanished from the hospital before the sun came up. He left behind a trail of empty bank accounts and a house that felt like a tomb. I lost everything. The house was seized. My bank accounts were frozen. Even my identity was called into question. I live in a small apartment now, 3 states away. I work a job that pays in cash and I don't keep any photos on the walls. I changed my hair. I changed the way I walk. I try to be as unlike Elena as possible. But sometimes, I'll be walking down the street and I'll see a man who looks like him. I wonder if he's still out there, looking for the next piece of the puzzle. I wonder if he's watching me right now, grading my performance. He told me the truth because he thought it would bind us together forever. He didn't understand that you can't love a masterpiece if you know the artist is a monster. I still have the brass key. I don't know why I kept it, maybe as a reminder that the doors we open can never truly be closed again. I'm safe for now, but every time my phone buzzes or there's a knock at the door, I feel that same cold weight in my chest. Yesterday, a package arrived with no return address. Inside was a blue dress, my favorite color, or at least it used to be.